Hello friend, welcome back to the kitchen. So today we are taking on a freezer prep day. All right, so this is snacks, some meat preparation, just some general ingredients that I like to keep in and on hand, some pastry, some things like that, to get them in the freezer, because we have literally some milk and some leftover chicken curry in the freezer at the minute, and I don't like living like that. So we're going to get to it. Well, I've got a list to do. Let's get cooking.
So we're going to start off with the easiest thing to do, and that is the peanut butter cups. So here I'm just melting some chocolate in a double boiler type thing. I'm making a double batch, so that's why I'm melting quite a lot of chocolate. So these are basically just peanut butter sandwiched between two layers of chocolate. Now this peanut butter is 100% pure peanut butter, and in it, to thicken it slightly, I'm going to put some collagen powder. So I'm putting a few scoops of collagen powder in here. So good for you. So that's going in there, and as I mix it, you'll see it'll thicken right up. I did end up putting a little bit more than this in as well, because it thickens up nicely, so that when it freezes, you're going to put them in the freezer. When it freezes, it just thickens up nicely. Now I've got some coconut oil in here, and that's to help it freeze solid, because obviously it can be a bit runny, melty chocolate. So I put some coconut oil in it for goodness and health, as well as for thickening it right up. So we start off by putting some melted chocolate in the bottom of each. I've got my little helper there. Look, she's got her apron on. She was very pleased to help me do these. These are a favourite thing. So one layer of chocolate all in the bottom. Then we are going to move on. While that's setting, we're going to move on to making some pastry. That's what I'm making here. I like to keep pastry in the freezer, but basically just so that I've got some there to thaw out really quickly. It thaws really nice and quick, so that if I don't know what to make for that day, I can make some sausages, some sausage rolls, or some pie, or lots of different things. I do use bread flour for it, just because, you know, it's easy. You can use all-purpose flour, but I tend to use bread flour for mine. I've got a recipe that I've used for years and years and years, so I know what my ratio is. It is literally 200 grams of flour to 100 grams of butter, and then as much water to bring it together. But I've got a little trick, and I'll show you that little trick in just a minute. I'm just bringing it together here.
So my little tip for making pastry is you don't use plain water, you use sparkling water. This gives it such a like fluffy texture when you're making pastry. I have always used it ever since I first found this trick. It was needs must. The only cold water I had in the house at the time was some fizzy water next to me, and I just went, I'll stick that in. I've even done it for a sweet one with some Sprite, which is lemon and lime, fizzy. But we don't have that anymore. We have water, so that's what I put in mine. Little tip.
So I'm just using that fizzy water to bring it all together. It's cold fizzy water as well. It's been in the fridge. And I'm going to turn it out onto the work surface. You can see it's all just kind of crumbly at the moment. But as I put it on the work surface, I can add a little bit more. Always prefer to add less. And add to it, because you can't take it away if the pastry goes all doughy, syrupy and doughy if you add too much water. So I'm trying not to work it too much, because you don't want to work the gluten too much in pastry. But there you can see I'm adding just a little touch here and there, just a touch, just enough to bring it together. I've put some flour on the surface. I probably didn't need as much flour as all that, to be fair. It's come together nicely. This is a double batch, so that's why I'm about to split it in two, and I will put that in some freezer safe bags, and I will put that in the freezer ready, and it's there ready. I will always label it, and it's there ready. Not very even sized. Don't matter, it's for us, it's rustic. So they're then going in the freezer safe bags, and they will sit in the freezer till we're ready to use them.
So I found the best thing to do with these is stick them in the freezer just to set them, because they've got the coconut oil in them. They set quite nicely, and then you can move on to the next stage while those ones are freezing. See, we're ready for the next stage, but we've been infiltrated. Chocky chops.
Nothing better than seeing kids with chocolate chops, is there? So this is the next stage. We're putting the next layer in. This is the peanut butter and collagen that we did earlier and mixed up. It's been just waiting while the other parts are frozen. I've got one in the freezer now, and those ones have just come out of the freezer, as you've seen. And my helper insisted on helping, so I left her to kind of try and flatten everything out. She has washed her hands, don't worry. But she loves helping, and I love, as much as I possibly can, I love letting her help. That doesn't always mean she gets to help with everything. But we're just trying to put a layer of peanut butter onto there, and then over the top of that, yeah, don't put your fingers in your mouth while we're cooking. But then we will put another layer of chocolate over the top of that, and then they'll go back in the freezer to set. Here we go with some more chocolate. I did find, look at me, dolloping 2 spoonfuls on the top. That was too much. I ran out at the end. How awful's that? Someone wanted to help again. Make sure you remember how much you're making, because I did run out of chocolate at the end, but it was all right. We still had them. It's fine. So that's 2 things off the list. We've done peanut butter and we've done pastry. Now I think we'll move on to the cookies. That'll be the easiest thing to do next, I think. So we're having a quick wipe round and a clean up before we start on the cookies. So this is another old recipe that I've had for quite a while, and we're going to just make some choc chip oatmeal cookies, I believe. So in front of me, if you've seen my kitchen, you see it at the start of the video, I've got all of my baking ingredients on shelves up there. So for me, I find it really handy to have everything in the same place. 1 minute. So this is why I love, oh, my drying earring, but this is why I love having a pantry with ingredients in. So I've got 2 here, look, sugar, perfect, just out my back door, vinegar, and we're back on business. Lovely. That's real life though, isn't it? You always find that you run out just as you start a project, or I do anyway. So I love that. It's so handy. So back to this. I like having my pantry ingredients or cooking ingredients and baking ingredients out and in the same place. So I've got walls full of shelves that have got all my baking soda, baking powder, chocolate chips, anything that I might need for cooking that's handy. Because I do so much of it, I keep it all close by, because I cook so much from scratch. I'm always dipping into the baking powder and the cornstarch and all of that sort of stuff. So this is just me trying to cream the butter and the sugar. I forgot that I'd put it in one big block, and I really should have chopped it up a bit, so that's what I was just doing there. Trying to more haste, less speed, or something like that, wasn't it? That's what I should have done. So I'm turning it up to mix it all in, and while I presently get all the rest of the ingredients out off my shelves ready to put in. With these cookies, I really love having them in the freezer, because there's often times when my husband comes home from work and we don't want a dessert, but my husband would love just something to finish off his dinner. So he has come home a bit later than us. After our dinner, we've had our tea, and then so he has his when he comes home, and he just fancies something sweet. But I don't really want to at like 7 o'clock at night be getting a load of cookies out for the kids. So I'll oftentimes just grab one out of the freezer, put 1 or 2 into the oven for him, and they bake up in about 15 minutes. It's fantastic. So you've always got fresh cookies on hand, and I love having that. Just again, it's just flexibility for when I don't want to make a full batch, but I can put 1 or 2 in just for him, or I can put 1 in for my son to take to college the next day, or do you know what I mean? Put something in for his pack up. And for me, that's the beauty of having these handy. This particular day, I was already cooking a lot of stuff anyway. It's nothing to add this to the list. As you can see, I've got a mixer, so it really is nothing to add it to the list. We got to bake some up for us to eat in the afternoon, and we have got a load in the freezer as well. So, and we all know we all love these as well. It's one thing if one of you likes something and the rest don't. This is a great opportunity for that, because then you don't have to cook a full batch up and eat them all in one day. You can freeze the dough and just cook up as many as you like at a time. So if you are the only one who likes a certain flavour, this is a great idea. And then you've got some packed in the freezer for a long time. So that's why we enjoy it. We enjoy the flexibility of being able to cook a whole batch or just 1 or 2. So I'm just putting all the last bits of the ingredients in, mixing them together, and then we'll get onto the rolling in a second. And here we are. I've just taken it off the stand mixer and given it a good mix, because it always gets some stuck at the bottom where it's not mixed in. I think I'll tell you in a little while, but I cut my thumb really quite badly the morning of doing this, typically. And so that's why I've got a glove on. It was really quite difficult because all the dough kept sticking to the glove. And yes, I mention it a few times because yes, I'm a great big wimp when it comes to stuff like that. Finishing off rolling them. So one of these pans will go in the freezer to flash freeze, and the other pan goes in the oven because, quite honestly, you can't make cookies and not eat them. So that's why I made 2 pans. So these first load of chocolate peanut butter cups are frozen solid. They are going to end up in a bag. Look, frozen solid, love it. That's the addition of the coconut oil. And yes, I know I make a mess. Try drizzling chocolate without making a mess. These will go into a bag and into the freezer. I'll do that now. So I do tend to use just plain old plastic bags for these because I can reuse them. I have one regularly in there for the peanut butter cups, so that's why I tend to use plastic bags for this. I have got reusable ones as well, the silicone bags, but I just find these are just quite easy, and again I reuse them anyway, so it's fine.
So that's another thing ticked off the list, the cookies. I'm going to stop and have some lunch with the child now. Spend a bit of time with her. It's quite sunny today, so I might go spend a bit of time in the garden with her, and then we'll be back this afternoon and we'll do all the meat. So as you can see, they spread quite a bit, these cookies. That one was a bit smaller. Well done, but yummy, yummy. So we're on to this afternoon's events. We've done the sweet stuff this morning, kind of. And today we are going to deal with 10 kilos of chicken. I normally get these, I used to get these on my monthly shop when I used to just shop monthly. And normally I would just put these in vacuum. I've got a vacuum sealer and I just put them in vacuum packs of 3 breasts at a time. They're fairly big. And then just stick them in the freezer. But this time I wanted to do a few little alternative bits. So I'm going to do that with some of these. Just so it's easy to get out. I've got chicken in the freezer. But some of them I'm going to do some marinades. So I'm going to try out some different marinades that I'm going to make. And that way I can just get them out of the freezer, stick them in the Instant Pot, 20 minutes from frozen, and you've got beautiful succulent marinated meat. Lovely. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get cracking with this. I will put a glove on because my thumb is killing me and I don't want to get germs in it and all sorts. So I'm going to put my gloves on and then we'll get cracking.
I told you I was a wuss. So these are from Macro, these giant 5 kilo boxes of meat. And what I do generally, like I said, is sort of split them up into packs of 3 because there's generally 3 adults, really. A 17-year-old eats like an adult, and 1 child, and that seems to do us. But what I remembered here, I went, I remember, I'll get another bag out because on the back of these, included in the weight, is some chicken goujons. So we find that the chicken breasts are that big that we don't need the chicken goujons on them. So I spend the time and degoujon. I don't even think that's a word, but you know what I mean. Take the goujons off the back and put them in a separate bag. And that's another couple of meals there. So, rather than just put them in and end up with too much and throwing away leftovers, it means that we can have the goujons as an extra meal. I can bread them, I can use them as just plain chicken, and it really does as well. So it's a really good extra kind of meal if I'm prepared to do it. So you see me carrying on, just de-goujoning and prepping up these bags, really. Ready for the marinades, these ones.
Right, so the first 2 of these I'm going to do is going to be teriyaki chicken. We love teriyaki chicken. So we're going to start with, and I'm doubling the recipe as well. So I've got my cup measurements and my brown sugar from over here. So we're going to do, the recipe calls for half a cup. So again, I'm doubling everything. So a cup of soy sauce. That's quite a bit.
So that's what I love about having a stocked kitchen, because most of this stuff I've already got in, and just doubling a recipe is dead easy. You know, you don't have to worry about, well, she says, as this is going to probably go with a cup of soy sauce. But I don't have to worry about running out of ingredients, because most things I've got in that I use on a regular basis, like this kind of stuff, I keep stocked in the pantry. So it's worth it. So, cup of soy sauce. This is going to go between 2, don't forget. Half a cup, so a cup of half a cup brown sugar. So that's 1. And that's 2. Oh, my thumb's still killing me. I'm a baby when it comes to stuff like this. Now this is where I have got olive oil under here, but I might have to go get some out the pantry. So half a cup of that. I know I'm going to do 2 half a cups, but I'm just seeing what I've got first of all. So I definitely need some more out the pantry. Right, I'll be back. So I've got this out the garage. It's a bit settled, but that's because it's chilly in there. It'll be all right after that. So I did 1 cup of that, didn't I? And I need 1 half a cup, sorry. So that is then, oh, not quite, look, that's the old one. 2 cups of that. It's not, it's 2 half cups, so it's a cup altogether. I'm being silly. Now we need some, we can do 2 tablespoons of that. We need some garlic and some ginger, so I'll get those in a minute. Teaspoons of that, sorry. I'll put all the recipe in the show notes below. 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. We need some ginger and some garlic, so they're really rich. To the side a minute. Got my little whisk to give that all a whisk around. Does anybody else talk to themselves in the kitchen? Because I do all this. Well, I talk to myself all the time. I sit there and I'm talking myself through what I do. So this is without a camera on or anything like that. This is just a normal everyday life. This is what I do. Sit here talking quick. Right. I'll whisk that up there, and then in a minute when I've got that done, I need to remember to do this. I sit and talk to myself like that all the time. Grate that. Do I need a few of them? I don't know. Only little diddy ones these, so I'll put a few in. So let's have a look then. Where's my knives gone? So at this point, literally all I'm going to do is chop up some garlic and some ginger to put into this. And then I can get the marinades going. This cooks up so lovely, this teriyaki chicken. It really is gorgeous. It's another thing that I always have in, actually, garlic. And I'm still talking to you on the thing, look, but I'm not making any sense. So I just quickly chop and press the garlic and chop and hand chop the ginger. But ginger and garlic is another thing I always like to have in fresh. I've got the powder of both. So they add a little something else, I find. They add a slightly different flavour, powdered garlic to fresh garlic. So I like to, not particularly here, but I like to have both in, and I like to put both into recipes sometimes, because they both add a little subtle flavour difference. They do, I find. So I'm going to just chop up the rest of this ginger, to put into the teriyaki marinade. While I'm talking to you, look, I'm still talking. I just waffle on. And yes, I can completely hand chop garlic. I hand chop the ginger in a minute. But at this point, on this day, it was just easier to get the garlic press out and put it through the garlic press. It's fine. Some days you do. I'm going to put it in there and then I decide against it. It's just easier to do. Time-saving mechanisms sometimes. And this day, I could face chopping the ginger, couldn't face chopping the garlic. I know it's ridiculous, but, that's what I was doing. So chopping up a bit of ginger, bit of garlic into the marinade. It's going between 2, I think I've said that, but 2 marinades to go into the freezer. Absolutely delicious. And then all I'm going to do is probably with this particular one, we quite like it just done in the oven. So I'm going to thaw it on the day and then stick it in a glass container and let it thaw out and then cook it in the oven. It's already all marinated. It's all, as it thaws, it'll marinate the meat some more. I'm going to mix it up and label it. Please, please, please don't forget to label your food, because much as you think you will remember what it is, I guarantee you in a month's time, when you've been off and doing stuff, you've had 24 meals in between, then you will not remember what it is. There's my pen, I'm labelling them up. Honestly, you won't remember, I guarantee you. And a lot of times meat looks the same when it's frozen, so don't think you're going to remember. Same with your seeds, label your seeds as well. So we're moving on to the next one, and this is just chipotle honey. So this is a chipotle paste. I searched far and wide for full chipotles in a sauce, but this is actually a paste. So all I'm doing is putting the chipotle paste between two of the chickens, and then I'm going to put some honey, raw honey. It's going to be cooked. I know it don't matter if it's raw honey, but that's what I've got. But what I'm going to do with it, because there was only a little bit left in the bottom, and I know that I like to marinate in some sort of acid sometimes, I'm putting a little bit of apple cider vinegar there, look. And then I'm going to, I was looking for the lid. No, I wasn't. I was looking for this spoon. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. That's going to make it sweet and sour, and that's going to put it in. I'm putting that in there with the spicy. Sweet, sour and spicy. What a combination. I have had something similar to this while I was out, but I like to simplify things. And so this is my simplified version. I've got this sauce all over everywhere, look. But this is my simplified version. And it is hot, sweet and sour. So it's chipotle honey chicken. So yeah, I'll let you know when we get that out and see how it tastes, because like I say, I've never made it before, but just making sure everything's massaged in, look. Then I'm going to label it before I put it in. Now, to be fair, you probably could tell the difference between those two, because one's bright red and one is brown, but you just never can tell, so it's easier to label it up. So the last marinated chicken I'm going to get to today is just a plain old curried chicken. Now, I do actually make an extra batch of this off camera after I've done this. I'm just showing you my spoon as a Star Wars spoon with a Wookiee on it. But this is going to be a marinated curried chicken. And I make some more up, splashing it everywhere. I make some more up and actually cook it off. So we've got some frozen curried chicken in already pre-cooked for my husband's pack up and things. But this was for a marinade, so I'm putting, I tell you, I'm butterfingers to this day, aren't I? But this is just some yogurt, a little bit of oil, some more apple cider vinegar and some seasonings. I think I've got onion, garlic, mild curry powder. I think that's garam masala, cumin and turmeric in there, and just mixing that together. And then I'm going to put it into the bags with the chicken. Now what we found was, I've done this before, and some salt of course, I've done this before and we didn't realise, you learn all the time, honestly, and I didn't realise that I kept putting it into the curry itself and it kept curdling. And what I realised is you have to cook the yoghurt on the chicken first before you put it in and heat it. So what I'll do here is I'll defrost this. I will bake this in the oven to make baked yoghurt chicken. Then I will put the cooked chicken into a curry sauce and heat that through and serve it. And we found that just works a lot better. You live and learn, don't you? If you've never cooked like this before, I didn't know that. So we researched it and found that that's why it kept curdling when we put it in straight, the raw chicken with the yoghurt on it. So we live and learn, and now we can have lovely marinated curried chicken in either a curry or on its own with just some chips or some rice or something like that, or we can have it in a sauce. So yeah, we learn something new every day. Label it. So my last job with the chicken, at least, is just to vacuum pack these with my vacuum sealer. It takes absolutely no time at all, this, and then they can go in the freezer just as plain chicken. So I can grab one out. One is usually 3 chicken breasts, so that's a meal of some description I can make, taking lots of different directions. It takes next to no time at all to do. And you've got lovely chicken to go in the freezer. Look. My pretty much last job of the day, I think, is dealing with this mincemeat, and I'm going to make a couple of containers of meatballs. So we like meatballs a couple of different ways, and I was introduced to a very unusual way for us anyway. I'd never thought about it before. We love Italian meatballs with tomato sauce and stuff like that, and I may take it in that direction. But we also love sweet and sour meatballs. Now, Becky from Acre Homestead introduced me to that. I watched her make some before, and we gave it a try, and they are delicious. I'd never have thought of putting sweet and sour sauce with meatballs at all, but actually it's stunning. But I'm just going to make these plain. I'm not actually putting any sauce with them. That's our sweet and sour, our sourdough breadcrumbs, and some salt. Obviously there's a lot of meat there, so I'm putting a lot of seasoning in, and some eggs, and we're going to mix that all together. I think that's some oregano and some garlic and some onion powder, because I think it was thyme, actually. It was not oregano, it was thyme. So we're going to give that a quick mix round with some milk. I really find that works better than water, far better. I am quick mum break, because she was like a little princess dress. I had to go dress a princess. So back with the gloves, and we're going to mix this all together, and we're going to make a couple of pans of meatballs. So like I said, I'm going to leave these plain for now, because if I freeze them plain, when I get them out, I can put a sauce with them. It's quick enough to knock up a sauce of any description. We always have passata in, so I can make a pasta sauce, or we always have brown sugar and soy sauce and all that kind of stuff in, so that I can make a sweet and sour sauce. They can take them in any direction then. But getting them all mixed up in my big pan, and then I'm just going to roll them out. These are freezer safe dishes. I've got about 5 or 6 of these, and they've got plastic lids, but they're glass containers. So yeah, trying to get them an even size. I do have a cookie scoop, but it's ginormous. Not a cookie scoop, an ice cream scoop, sorry for doing this. But I just find it's too big, and I haven't got a cookie scoop small enough. So I just find it eyeballing a section of them, rolling them up. You know, if one's slightly smaller than the other, I really don't mind. My son came home from college, and he's watching going, "Mum, what are you doing?" So he's having a chat with me in the kitchen. It's his mum life, you know, when they come home and they tell you about the day while you're busy doing stuff. That's usually the best time, because you're not paying massive, super duper attention to him. They usually tell you stuff. So just swapping them around so I can get the next one done. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this day, actually. We've got quite a few meals in the freezer. And by this point, I'm realising I'm getting close to the edge of this one. So I call my son back in, and he gets me another freezer-safe dish out of the island, so that we can fill up another one, because I didn't quite realise how much meat was in there. So, yes, very glad that he was home so he could help me with that. Yeah, so that ends up being sort of 2.5, probably, not quite 3. But 2.5 of those. So like I say, by the time I'm ready, Rapunzel's in the background. By the time we're ready to eat these, knocking up a quick sauce is going to be nothing, and they won't take very long to thaw out on this kitchen side. Yeah, so great meal prep day, really. We got lots prepped and really enjoyed it.
So I think that about wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for staying with me. I hope you found some ideas there. What works for our family might not be what works for your family, but if there's any ideas, give them a go. You might find something you like. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to do any more freezer prep days, give us a comment below. Let me know what you think of them, and see you next time.